You're listening to the Top One English Plus podcast.
Welcome to Top One English Plus, the podcast where we explore global trends to elevate your English fluency. I'm your host, and today we're taking an advanced look at Bangkok, Thailand. The city that has officially retained its crown as the most visited city in the world for 2025.
It's great to be here, and honestly, the data we're diving into today, it's more than just a travel statistic. It feels like a genuine geopolitical shift in the world of tourism.
A shift? How so?
Well, for so long, we've been conditioned to think of, the old guard. Paris, London, New York, they've just dominated the entire conversation around global cities.
Right. They're the default answers.
Exactly. But the numbers coming out of the latest Euromonitor report for 2025, they tell a completely different story. It feels like the center of gravity it's moved east.
It really has. And I want to just, pause on that for a second. I think we all get a little desensitized to big numbers. We hear millions and billions thrown around all the time in the news.
It just becomes noise after a while.
It does. But this report puts Bangkok at 30.3 million international arrivals. I mean, that is just a staggering amount of humanity descending on one single metropolis in 1 year.
It is absolute saturation. And to really put that into a comparative context for you, that's roughly the entire population of Australia.
Okay.
Plus the entire population of New Zealand, all passing through just two airports, Suvarnabhumi and Don Mueang, in a single year.
Yeah.
And the key thing is, they aren't just transiting, they're staying.
And that number, the 30.3 million, it's significantly higher than the runners-up, isn't it? It's not like it's a close race.
Not at all. I mean, London and Hong Kong are in the 20s, but Bangkok is sitting all alone in the 30s club.
So what are their numbers?
Precisely. So Hong Kong came in second place with 23.2 million.
Okay.
And London was third with 22.7 million. So you're talking about a gap of nearly 7, maybe even 8 million people.
That's not a margin of error.
No, that is market dominance, pure and simple. And what's maybe most interesting to me looking at the analysis is the resilience factor here.
Resilience. Okay, that's a key word, and I think what our listeners should really focus on. We usually use resilience to talk about, I don't know, a person bouncing back from a setback, or maybe a business surviving a recession. How are we applying it to an entire city?
Well, just think about the context of the last few years.
Yeah.
The global economy has been on a complete roller coaster. We've had massive inflation fluctuating fuel costs, a much slower post-pandemic reopening in Asia compared to the West.
Right, a lot of uncertainty.
A huge amount. And a lot of analysts were predicting that travelers would stick to shorter, more regional trips. Americans going to Mexico, Europeans going to Spain.
The safe bet.
The safe, easy bet. But Bangkok completely bucked that trend. It dipped slightly, maybe about 7% from some of the most aggressive projections.
Yeah.
But it held on to that top spot. That shows that the demand for this city isn't some fleeting trend. It's structural.
So that suggests that Bangkok has become something of a staple, almost a non-negotiable destination for the modern global traveler.
I think that's a perfect way to put it.
But I want to push back on this idea of just popularity for a second. Is this all just about people wanting cheap pad thai and, a good massage? Or is there something more strategic happening beneath the surface? Because when I look at the list, I see Tokyo, Singapore, and Seoul all climbing the ranks too. This feels coordinated.
You are absolutely right to be skeptical of it being just about cheap travel. That's the old narrative.
Right.
And while affordability is, of course, a factor, the real engine driving this is policy.
Oh.
Specifically, this Asian century of tourism is being fueled by what we call visa-friendly policy.
The paperwork.
Yeah.
The bane of every traveler's existence. I feel like we always focus on the fun parts of travel, the hotels, the food, the sights, but we completely underestimate the friction caused by bureaucracy.
It is the silent killer of tourism demand. We have a term for it, administrative friction.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Think about it from the perspective of, say, a family of 4 from China or from India. If they have to spend weeks gathering documents, paying hundreds of dollars in fees, going to interviews, and then waiting for an approval just to enter a country for a week,
They might just go somewhere else.
they'll just choose a different destination with less hassle. It's that simple. So Thailand, along with Malaysia and Singapore, made a very calculated geopolitical move. They looked at the massive, and I mean massive, Chinese outbound market and essentially said, we are removing the borders for you.
So they effectively commodified the entry process. They turned what was a 3-month planning ordeal into a spontaneous, let's book a flight for this weekend kind of decision.
Exactly. They remove the friction, and by doing that, they position Bangkok as the ultimate gateway city.
Gateway city, that's a crucial concept in urban planning and logistics, isn't it?
It is, just as London often serves as the handshake for Americans entering Europe.
Right, you fly into Heathrow to start your trip.
You do. Bangkok has become the lobby for all of Southeast Asia. You land there, you acclimatize to the heat and the time zone, you spend maybe 3 or 4 days exploring, and then perhaps you disperse to Vietnam or Cambodia or down to the Thai Islands. But Bangkok always gets that initial statistical arrival.
It's the living room of the entire region. You kind of have to pass through it to get to the other rooms.
Perfect analogy.
But people aren't just passing through, are they? They're staying. They're engaging with the city itself. And this brings us to the actual texture of the place. One of the sources we looked at used a word that I absolutely love, palimpsest.
Yes, it is a beautiful literary term. A palimpsest, originally it referred to a piece of parchment or a manuscript, where the original writing has been scraped off or erased to make room for new writing.
But you can still see the faint outlines of what was there before.
Exactly. Traces of the original remain visible underneath. It's all about layers of history.
It's such a vivid image, and when you apply that to a city, it implies so much. Usually when we talk about modern Asian megacities, think of the newer parts of Shanghai or Dubai, it feels like they bulldozed the history to build the future. They completely erased the manuscript.
Correct. They started with a clean slate.
Yeah.
But Bangkok is different. Bangkok doesn't erase. It writes over. It just keeps piling on top. You'll see these hyper-modern SkyTrain concrete pillars driven right into the ground next to 19th century shop houses.
Or a tiny spirit house covered in offerings, sitting right in the shadow of a giant luxury mall.
Yes. The palimpsest here isn't just some abstract metaphor for history. It is a physical reality that you have to navigate every single day.
And I don't think anywhere is this more aggressive or frankly more beautiful than in the city's historic center. We have to talk about the Grand Palace. To the average tourist, it's just a must-see on a checklist.
You tick the box and move on.
Right. But if we look closer, it's actually a masterclass in political survival, isn't it? The architecture itself tells a story.
It is architecture as diplomacy. The Grand Palace was established way back in 1782 by King Rama I, which marked the beginning of the Ratanakosin era. But if you walk through the complex, specifically to one building, the Frau Thinan Chakri Mahaprasad, you see something very, very strange.
This is the building that, to the untrained eye, looks like a British Victorian mansion, but then it seems like someone just dropped a traditional Thai temple roof right on top of it.
That is the Farang with a Thai hat description locals often use. Farang being the common Thai word for a Westerner.
A foreigner with a Thai hat. I love that.
But this design wasn't an accident or some kind of architectural mistake. It was a deeply political statement. It was built during the reign of King Rama V, the great modernizer.
And at that time, European colonial powers were just gobbling up Southeast Asia.
They were. The French were in Indochina, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. The British were in Burma and Malaya.
Right. And Thailand, or Siam as it was called then, was the only nation sandwiched right in the middle, desperately trying to stay independent.
Exactly. So this building is a message carved in stone. The Western neoclassical facade says, "We are civilized. We understand your modernity. We are your equals.
We speak your language.
We speak your architectural language." But the Thai roof, those golden spires soaring above it all, that says, "But we are still Siam. We are sovereign, and we are on top."
That is fascinating. So it's not just a clash of styles, it's a survival strategy. It's a visual representation of the national motto. We will adapt, but we will not be conquered.
Precisely. And that theme of adaptation, of blending, it runs through everything. Just next door, inside the same complex, you have Wat Phra Kaew, the Temple of the Emerald Buddha.
And we should probably do a quick fact check here, because the name emerald is a little bit of a misnomer, isn't it?
It is. The statue isn't actually carved from emerald. It's made from a single massive block of jade. But emerald refers to its deep, vibrant green color.
And this statue isn't just a beautiful object, it's what we call the palladium of the kingdom.
Palladium. That's a heavy word. I feel like we don't hear that very often outside of, I don't know, a chemistry class or maybe a superhero movie.
It's a classical reference. It comes from Greek mythology, referring to the statue of Pallas Athena that was said to protect the city of Troy. The belief was that as long as the palladium was safe inside the city walls, the city could not fall.
A talisman.
Right.
In the Thai context, yes, the Emerald Buddha is the ultimate safeguard of the nation's legitimacy, its prosperity, and its very identity.
Which explains the incredibly strict dress code. I have seen so many tourists get frustrated, rolling their eyes at having to rent a sarong or cover their shoulders because it's, 35 degrees Celsius and incredibly humid.
It's understandable on a surface level.
But it's not just about modesty, is it? There's something deeper going on.
No, not at all. In what we call high-context cultures, like Thailand, clothing is language. It's a form of nonverbal communication. It is a linguistic expression of hierarchical respect.
Hierarchical respect.
Yes. You dress to acknowledge the status of the person, or in this case, the entity you are visiting. So to walk into the home of the nation's palladium dressed in beachwear isn't just casual, it's like a grammatical error in the language of culture.
Wow, a grammatical error in the language of culture. I love that phrasing. That puts a whole new perspective on the no tank tops sign.
It signals a fundamental lack of awareness of where you are standing and what it represents.
Now, if we jump across the river over to the Thonburi side, we find Wat Gurun, the Temple of Dawn. And this brings us right back to that idea of the city as a layer cake of history, a palimpsest.
Wat Arun is iconic. You see it on every postcard. The central prang, or tower, is designed to represent Mount Meru, which is the center of the universe in Buddhist and Hindu cosmology.
It's a beautiful silhouette at sunset.
It is. But the detail that just blows my mind is when you get up close. From a distance, it looks like it's made of white stone or plaster. But when you're standing right there, close enough to touch it, you realize the entire surface is covered in millions of tiny pieces of colorful Chinese porcelain.
It's a mosaic. I've seen pictures, flowers, geometric patterns. It's unbelievably intricate.
It is. And the origin of that porcelain is a story of really an early form of circular economy. During the height of maritime trade with China, ships would come to Bangkok loaded with valuable goods like silk and tea.
Okay.
To keep the ships stable on the water, especially when they were empty or half full, they needed ballast, weight. And often they would use cheap or broken Chinese pottery as that ballast.
So it was essentially garbage. It was just dead weight to keep the ship from tipping over.
Essentially, yes. It was commercial refuse. But the Thai artisans at the time saw value in it. They took this broken pottery, this trade garbage, broke it down even further, and used it to clad the surface of their most sacred temples.
Wow.
It's the ultimate example of upcycling. They took the literal waste products of international trade and transformed them into divinity.
That is such a tactile detail. It's incredible. You can literally touch the history of global trade cemented right onto the wall of a temple.
You really can.
Speaking of moving things around, trade, people, ballast, we need to talk about how people actually move through the city today. Because if you've ever been to Bangkok, you know that movement is sometimes a strong word. Gridlock is often more accurate.
The concrete jungle moniker is very well earned. But for a visitor, navigating Bangkok today is really a tale of two different cities. You have the BTS, which is the SkyTrain, and you have the MRT, the subway. And they offer completely different psychological experiences of the city.
Let's break that down. Let's talk about the BTS first. This is the above-ground experience. I have to say, I always feel like I'm in a sci-fi movie when I'm on the BTS.
It is the metropolis view of the city.
Yeah.
You are gliding on these huge concrete rails, maybe 3 stories above the street. You're at eye level with the massive billboards, with the luxury malls like Siam Paragon and M. Cordier, and with the glass and steel skyscrapers of the Siloam Business District.
It's the artery of the new city.
Absolutely. It represents consumerism, speed, modernity, and maybe most importantly, escaping the heat and the chaos below.
And escaping the traffic. There is this distinct feeling of superiority when you look down and see that sea of red taillights completely stuck and you just glide right past them.
There is. But you need to contrast that with the MRT, the subway. For a long time, the subway was just a simple loop. It was useful, but limited. But with the recent expansions, specifically the Blue Line extension, it has become something else entirely. It's now a time machine to the old city.
Right, because the SkyTrain doesn't really go to the Grand Palace or to Chinatown, does it?
No, it serves the modern commercial core. The MRT, on the other hand, takes you deep underground into these massive, cavernous, freezing cold stations, which are a true blessing in April. And then it pops you up right in the heart of historic Bangkok.
I've heard the new stations are beautiful.
Some of them are stunning. The station at Sanam Chai, for example, which is right next to the Grand Palace, is decorated to look like a royal stateroom from the Ratanakosin era. So you ride this high-tech German or Japanese train, and you step out into what feels like the 18th century.
But it's not all seamless, is it? We have to address the elephant in the room, or I guess the spider in the room, I should say, the fragmentation issue. Why, in 2026, do I still need 2 or sometimes 3 different cards to ride the trains?
Ah, this is the infamous spider card saga. The Mangmoom card.
The Mangmoom card.
It was promised for years. A single integrated card to rule them all, just like the Oyster card in London or the Octopus card in Hong Kong. But it essentially failed to launch effectively.
But why? It seems so obvious. It's what every world-class city has.
It is a classic case of corporate silos clashing with the public good. The BTS and the MRT are operated by different private companies, different concessions, and they simply could not agree on the crucial details. Revenue sharing, software integration, who owns the passenger data.
So the spider got stuck in its own web.
That's the perfect way to describe it. It's a powerful lesson in how administrative fragmentation can really hold back the development of a smart city.
It is frustrating for the user. You have to tap out of the BTS system, walk across a long sky bridge, queue up to buy a separate token for the MRT, and then tap back in. It breaks the flow of the journey.
It does. However, there is a silver lining emerging. The MRT recently enabled EMV technology.
EMV.
That stands for Europay, MasterCard, and Visa. So now you can just tap your contactless credit card or even your phone directly on the turnstile at any subway station.
So you don't need a special card anymore.
For the MRT, no. The BTS is still lagging on this specific open-loop technology, but we are slowly inching toward convenience.
Slowly but surely. And of course, we can't forget the original artery of the city. Long before the concrete pillars, there was the water.
The Chao Phraya River, the River of Kings. And this is not just a tourist boat ride. For millions of locals, it is a functional highway, a water bus.
Taking the express boat gives you, I think, the best cross-section of the city. You see everything.
You really do. You'll see these old wooden stilt houses that look like they're about to fall into the river, and they're right next to the 5-star Mandarin Oriental Hotel. You see the disparity and the harmony all at once from the same cheap boat ticket.
It's noisy, the water is choppy, the engine is roaring. It's a very visceral sensory experience.
And it smells like the river. It smells like wet earth and diesel and cooking food from the riverside kitchens. It anchors you in the reality of the tropics in a way that the perfectly air-conditioned trains never can.
Okay, let's pivot a little from the how of getting around to the why. Why are 30 million people coming right now? We mentioned the visa-free policies, but culture always plays a huge role, and specifically pop culture. We're seeing a phenomenon that the industry is calling the White Lotus effect.
This is a textbook example of a trend called set jetting.
Set jetting, I love that term, as in traveling to the movie set.
Precisely. We saw it happen with Game of Thrones in Croatia, which put Dubrovnik on the map for a whole new generation. We saw it with the first 2 seasons of The White Lotus in Hawaii and Sicily. Their tourism numbers spiked.
And now, with the upcoming season filming in Thailand, the buzz is already palpable.
It is. But it's not just about fans wanting to take a selfie at a filming location. It's actually creating a major marketing pivot for the entire country's tourism strategy.
How so? I mean, Thailand has always been popular. What's changing?
Yes, but for decades, Thailand was branded primarily as a budget destination. The backpacker trail, cheap beer, the full moon party on the islands. That was the image.
All right.
The White Lotus as a show focuses on the ultra-wealthy, the anxieties of the 1%, and these incredibly high-end, exclusive luxury resorts. So, by association, the Tourism Authority of Thailand is using this moment to rebrand the country. Their new official campaign is, "Healing is the new luxury."
Healing is the new luxury. That is a very specific vibe. It sounds expensive.
It is. And that's the point. They are actively trying to shift the target demographic away from the backpacker spending, say, $50 a day, to the high-end wellness traveler who might be spending $500 or even $1,000 a day.
So it's about value over volume. Fewer people, but spending more money.
That's the economic goal.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. But then there's another trend that seems to almost go in the opposite direction. The maximalism trend.
Maximalism. Okay, this is fascinating. Tell us about this.
The HBX Group, which is a major player in travel tech, released a report on 2026 travel trends, and maximalism was right at the top of the list. And it's interesting because for years, all we heard about was minimalism.
Right. Decluttering your life, Marie Kondo, quiet retreats, digital detoxes.
All of that. Maximalism is the rebellion against that aesthetic.
Is this just a new name for FOMO? The fear of missing out?
It's FOMO with a vengeance. But I think it's deeper. Think about the psychology. We all spent 2 or 3 years during the pandemic with our worlds shrunk down to the size of our living rooms. Our sensory input was a screen. Now, travelers don't want quiet. They want abundance. They want sensory overload.
You want it all.
They want it all, and they
Right.
want it now.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Bangkok is the perfect maximalist city. In a single day, a traveler can start with a silent meditation at a temple in the morning.
Okay, very minimalist.
Then eat a mind-blowingly spicy bowl of noodles sitting on a tiny plastic stool in the street for lunch. Then go to a loud, chaotic Muay Thai boxing match in the afternoon. And end the night sipping champagne at a rooftop bar on the 60th floor overlooking the entire city.
It's the refusal to choose. It's a traveler saying, I want the grit and the glam.
And Bangkok delivers that high-low contrast better than almost any other city on Earth. It doesn't force you to be one type of person. You can be a spiritual pilgrim and a hedonist in the very same afternoon.
I can definitely relate to that desire for variety. Sometimes you want the street food, sometimes you want the air conditioning. But this idea of maximalism, combined with those 30 million visitors, it inevitably brings us to the dark side of the story. The challenge of success over tourism.
We absolutely have to talk about carrying capacity. This is a term that comes from ecology, but we now apply it to tourism.
And what does it mean?
It's the question of how many organisms, in this case tourists and environment, can support before the experience is ruined for everyone and the place itself is damaged.
We've seen this play out tragically in places like Venice or in Barcelona. You see locals protesting, graffiti on the wall saying tourists go home. Is Bangkok at that breaking point?
I would say it's teetering on the edge.
Yeah.
If you go to the Grand Palace at 10 in the morning on a Tuesday, it is not a spiritual experience. It is a mosh pit. The infrastructure is straining under the weight. The traffic is legendary for a very good reason.
So what's the solution?
Well, this is where Bangkok is trying a different strategy. Unlike Venice, which is trying to ban cruise ships or tax day trippers to reduce numbers, Bangkok is attempting a strategy of decentralization.
Spreading the jam deeper onto the bread, so to speak.
That's a great way to put it, exactly. The new rail lines we mentioned earlier, the pink line, the yellow line, these are new monorails that loop around the city suburbs. They are a deliberate attempt to push tourism out of that jam-packed Siam Salom Sukhumvit core.
Get people to explore other neighborhoods.
Right. They want people to go to the floating markets in Tailing Chan or the pottery island of Koh Kret, places that have traditionally been off the main tourist map.
So the goal isn't necessarily to stop people from coming, but to manage the flow so the city doesn't have a collective heart attack.
Correct. And this is where technology is going to play an increasingly important role. We're already seeing the rise of AI-powered travel planning tools in 2026 that can help predict congestion in real time.
So like a Google Maps for crowds.
In essence, yes. Imagine opening an app on your phone that tells you the Grand Palace is currently at 110% of its carrying capacity. But Wat Saket, the Golden Mount, is only at 40% and has a great view. Why not visit there instead?
That would be a complete game changer. It's about managing the herd.
It's the only way forward. The expert consensus is that Bangkok doesn't need more tourists. I mean, 30 million is plenty. It needs better distributed tourists using smart data.
It's a fascinating balance, isn't it? This dance between ancient culture and futuristic crowd control. We've covered a lot of ground today, from jade statues to suburban monorails. Before we wrap up, I want to solidify some of the really powerful language we've used. Let's hit our vocabulary spotlight.
Let's do it. We have some great words today.
First up, the one we started with, resilience.
Resilience. It's a noun. It refers to the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. It's about toughness. We used it to describe Bangkok's tourism economy. It took a massive hit during the pandemic, but it bounced back to #1. It showed incredible resilience.
Next word, juxtaposition. I feel like this is the word of the day for Bangkok.
It absolutely is. Juxtaposition. Also a noun. It means the fact of two things being seen or placed close together with a contrasting effect. The juxtaposition of a silent, ancient temple right next to the noisy modern SkyTrain. That contrast makes both things more interesting.
Third, maximalism.
Maximalism. Another noun, a style or a trend that emphasizes abundance, sensory overload, and excess. It's the direct opposite of minimalism. We talked about the maximalist traveler who wants to pack every possible type of experience into their trip.
Fourth, palladium. This was the one connected to the Emerald Buddha.
Yes, palladium. A noun. It means a safeguard or a source of protection. The Emerald Buddha is considered the palladium of Thai society. It's the spiritual anchor that is believed to protect the nation.
And finally, a fun one, bleisure.
Leisure. This is a portmanteau, a blend of the words business and leisure. It describes the trend of combining a work trip with a vacation. Someone might say, I'm flying to Bangkok for a conference next week, but I'm adding on 3 days of leisure to see the temples.
5 great words to elevate your English. So pulling this all together, Bangkok is the #1 most visited city in the world. It's crowded, it's chaotic, it's hot. But as we've discussed, it's also incredibly resilient. What is the big takeaway for you from all of this?
For me, I think the ultimate lesson of Bangkok is that harmony doesn't have to mean silence. We in the West often think peace and harmony means a quiet Zen garden or a silent retreat.
Right, the absence of noise.
The absence of noise. But Bangkok teaches us that you can find a different kind of harmony in the noise. It's about the balance of extreme contrasts. The old supports the new, the trade waste becomes sacred art, the street-level chaos has its own rhythm and flow. It's a different definition of harmony.
That is a beautiful thought. Harmony in the noise, it's not about erasing the meth, it's about finding your flow right there within it.
Exactly. And I think that's why 30 million people keep coming back. They're looking for that unique, chaotic energy.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive today, but I do want to leave you, our listener, with a question to mull over. We talked about set jetting and how popular shows like The White Lotus can shape our travel plans and even a country's identity. As technology makes the world feel smaller and our screens make distant places feel so familiar, are we still traveling to see the world as it truly is, or are we just traveling to see the movie set version of the world that we already saw on Netflix?
That is a provocative thought. Are we exploring anymore, or are we just verifying what we've already seen on a screen?
Something to think about as you plan your next adventure. If you enjoyed this advanced analysis of global trends, make sure to subscribe to Top 1 English Plus. We are here to help you decode the world and master the English language. I'm your host, signing off.
And I'm your expert. Keep learning and keep traveling.